My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only, and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances, and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft.
All right, it is 8:10 a.m. and it is Friday, January 9, 2026. I'm going to document the people of the state. License 59586 George 3, 9 Robert Charlie Zebra 445, 6W EL 508, 9 LVS 368. And you have the Demons of Los Angeles, KTLA 5. They're gang stalking at the heavily documented venue of Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, kidnappers, gang stalkers, and Los Angeles, the city, Los Angeles, the businesses, Los Angeles, the people of the state, Los Angeles, the corrupt department, the LAPD, the Los Angeles County Fire, the city of Los Angeles itself is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, and so are the entity that's operating KTLA 5 vehicle with light activity, license plate 99092 George 2. Gang stalking with the Ontario Police, gang stalking with the City of Ontario, that's stalking in the path, facilitating light activity in the center. So you have a demon with the orange neon jacket just staring at one of the metal boxes. They do the thing, they pull out a lawnmower, they pull out a hammer and dig a hole in the ground. All they're doing is stalking in the path with light, while the same exact pattern of conduct by the City of Ontario is underway. And KTLA 5 is in relevant position engaging in that same criminal presence in the path, ongoing activity creation. I just want to be clear, this is relevant to surveillance. Surveillance does not stop when I'm driving on the freeways in Los Angeles and I'm driving by these news anchorman stations and the fake sun is riding right over me while they are crossing path while I'm on the roads and the highways. This is the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct, and this is not the first gang stalking entity that is engaging in the P.O.C. via these news anchors. The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct, and I've documented on more than one occasion the entity targeting on the roads and the highways using these supposedly news stations. These are the same news stations that are engaging in the pattern of conduct and not engaging in any sort of exposure regarding this criminal system of surveillance that they themselves are engaging in. Okay, so this is the P.O.C. The entity has the fake sun over the intersection where KTLA 5 has cameras out. This is, again, the entity having cameras out, the entity having guns on their waist and badges on their chest, the entity having logos on their planes and accelerating and flying over the sky space, the entity having what are access to utility vehicles and engaging what are using whatever they have at their disposal to maintain the elements of monitoring. They're all engaging in the elements of monitoring as demons, gang stalking under the exact same fake sun, which does not change when the demons of Los Angeles, KTLA, are in the path. So this is the P.O.C. I want to go ahead and capture that. This is the entity that's maintaining that specific environment and is doing so while I am remaining in relevant position at the venue of what is Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. Pull this up. And it is currently, by the way, 8:13 a.m. This is the entity that's very heavily documented. The Ontario International Airport is maintaining the same exact air traffic. KTLA is creating what is facilitating light activity. KTLA is sharing in what is a psychopathic pacing, while the people of the state are engaging in that P.O.C. Stalking on the sidewalk is relevant to the pacing conduct of the roadways. You can see the city of Ontario is maintaining, facilitating light activity. This is the entity, the demons that are engaging in that, facilitating ongoing surveillance by communication devices. Doing so, where again, the entities maintaining the sky space as though the sun is rising here. It's not. This is the entity's specific environment where KTLA is not different under any circumstances, sharing in that PT with demons that are stalking in the path. 8 Nancy George Mary 103, where I've already documented the sunrise and the sunset at 507 North Euclid Avenue, where KTLA is present engaging in that P.O.C. In relevant position to my location at the bus stop at 537 North Euclid Avenue, where the entity is engaging in what is stalking as a population. There is nothing newsworthy about the city of Ontario outside of the fact of reporting that they're engaged in domestic terrorism, which KTLA is here present participating in and engaging in, and not ignorantly. All of Los Angeles, including the demon-possessed gang stalking news anchors, are engaging in criminal surveillance. All right, that's the P.O.C., and they're engaging in that pattern of conduct with the facilitating venue of terrorists themselves, which is Starbucks. Okay, this is P.O.C. I just want to make sure I put this on. It's 8:15 a.m. The entity is maintaining the fake sun on this same street where KTLA is present, engaging in the elements of monitoring. Demon possession is no respecter of persons. So demons that are on KTLA, in other words, on the television, reporting to you the news as it's conditioned for you to accept it in a palatable manner, not speaking to federal group stalking and monitoring that they themselves are engaging in. The fake sun is remaining over the same street. It doesn't change. The environment's not changing because you see this logo. It's letting you know how deeply embedded it is into society. And while they're reporting the news, while they're not reporting the fact that surveillance is underway, that's what they're not reporting. That's what they're not responding to when someone is reaching out for exposure regarding conduct that they're subject to. Of course, they're not reporting it, especially when they're a part of it. Okay, license 9HAY406 is gang stalking, threatening my life, co-conspiring, murder in concert with a gang stalker, KTLA 5. It's not different. This is P.O.C. That's a psychopath. Stalking with Ontario police. You'll see it in the images. This is a demon just staring at stuff and looking at like they're doing something when the entity is maintaining the same exact elements of monitoring. City of Ontario is maintaining surveillance. City of Ontario maintaining surveillance with the KTLA 5 in relevant position. And this is not the first time that the entity engaged in what is surveillance right here on the street. I documented it before here at this same intersection where the fake sun rises and sets, by the way, including through the drive-through window of the Starbucks, where KTLA finds them important enough to come and maintain position and record them and whatever it is that they find newsworthy. The only thing that's newsworthy are that the entity, they're going to prison for kidnapping on July 4, 2025. That's what's newsworthy. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, I captured video of KTLA-5 engaging in the pattern of conduct. This is relevant to, again, the entity that's reporting the news to you on a daily basis, by the way. And the entity that's reporting the news to you when they're out on the scene and showing you what's going on, and they're reporting the news to you under the fake sun. By the way, these are the things that you're paying attention to while they're literally engaging in the pattern of conduct as demons with the absolute removal of all legitimacy, as I have shown what Los Angeles is through the body of the evidence that is the P.O.C. They're gang stalking gargoyles, not different from the demons in Los Angeles, and they're present engaging in that pattern of conduct at the intersection while psychopaths are sitting around engaging in demonic behavior under the guise of what are the labels of the municipality, which is showing that the municipality is engaged in gang stalking. 8ZIJ 386. 7ZDW 186, and the City of Ontario vehicle. This is Paul Leon that's being removed from office. The resources of the city, the demons that are in position engaging in surveillance, psychopathic behavior with the microaggressive conduct such as stalking you with light as a means of harassing and psychologically torturing you, monitoring you, and doing so while you're just merely wearing the uniform or using the vehicle to do so, and they are under all circumstances targeting you. That's psychopathic conduct. It's in furtherance of murder. It's corrupt, and it is also relevant to the criminal and intentional conscious expenditures on surveillance, criminal activity by the city. License 1573151. It's relevant to also deportation. The entity, the City of Ontario, that's gang stalking, hiring immigrants, facilitating terrorism, they're going to be subject to deportation as well. 6GLG797, license 7FOE349, P.O.C. 8HLM112, 6WEL508. The ARCO employees monitoring, license 9TIH520, license 7GXU81T. These are, 812. These are demons, losers that are gang stalking while they're simultaneously making money as the gas station. In other words, filling up their gas tank under the fake sun in the engineered light while the government's stalking by planes and helicopters. And today with KTLA-5, Los Angeles, that's the entity that's relevant to the federal RICO case, including, I want to be clear, KTLA-5. They represent what is a business making money, engaging in the pattern of conduct. That's not different from the federal RICO case. I just want to be clear. And they are engaging in what is a pattern. This is on more than one occasion, KTLA-5, coming to this intersection, sharing and gang stalking me. 7COL441, license plate, 48775 Edward 2. 3NEY006, and I believe that's this demon German, engaging in what is criminal defamation as his audible activity monitoring me, okay? That's the pattern of conduct. While the entity is engaged in psychopathic pacing, just like I documented last night at the Stater Brothers, that P.O.C., KTLA-5 is not any exception and is not ignorantly present in the path. I'm letting you know, and you're witnessing what is very much nothing other than demons that report information to you that they want you to digest. It's not the news, and it's relevant to propaganda that the United States is being fed. We are not different from Russia and Korea and other places in the world where the entity, where regimes try to control the people. That is absolutely what's underway in the United States of America. We just liken ourselves to being free. That's nothing other than a mind construct where you think that you're different and distinct from other countries and you're not. In fact, the United States is sharing and terrorizing American citizens with those outside of the borders of this country. 45664 Apple 1, which is relevant to the implications regarding those that have been exposed because they have consequences to pay. It's none of my business. That's none of my business, but my business is exposing, and the entity of the United States is going to have some problems. Just want to be clear, international problems with regard to the pattern of conduct being exposed and the criminal conduct that they're engaging in and what this country is necessarily engaging in, which is surveillance of everybody and everything. 48775 Edward 2, which is they're lying about that. And the P.O.C. is letting everybody in the world know what this country is doing. And that's just relevant to the truth being spoken, but there are implications. You need to know international implications regarding what the United States government has been doing to me while they thought they were going to get away with it, and now everybody's problems are going to surface. License plate 7AVL866, it's P.O.C., and KTLA-5 is engaged in gang stalking, okay? This Starbucks is a ghetto establishment engaged in criminal activity. Those are thugs that dress up in green baristas, engaged in psychopathic conduct, demented behavior, and they're engaging in that pattern of conduct at 507 North Euclid Avenue, where the embarrassing P.O.C. is very heavily documented. Those psychopaths, those gargoyles, stalking with light inside of that building, that fake sun remaining over that cafe all day long, and KTLA finds them newsworthy. Today, KTLA is a gang stalking corrupt entity. They're part of the P.O.C., which you already know that. LAPD, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, the Los Angeles County Fire, the people of the state in Los Angeles, the city of Los Angeles itself, gang stalking vagina monitors. No hyperbole. Okay, so there's no surprise that KTLA-5 is here gang stalking in relevant position with the demons of the thugs of the city of Ontario. There's no surprise there whatsoever. I just want to be clear. What you are paying attention to is you will never be deceived by the presentation. Don't ever be deceived by the package, by the external. Somebody, oh, I'm this person, and so there's an exception. No, Satan is using that person. You see the specific environment, the same behavioral pattern. It is the P.O.C. There is no difference. KTLA-5 is showing you how it is embedded into society. They're not here reporting on anything. They're not exposing anything. For them to expose something will be for them to expose themselves. And you're not getting a job at that level engaging in what is truth speaking. You're not. Okay, you are a part of the system. License 8XKZ384. It is currently 8:23 a.m. I just wanted to speak on that. You already know what the pattern of conduct is. They're gang stalking me with the city of Ontario in furtherance of my murder and calling themselves reporting the news. They're not reporting in the news. The news is that everybody that is associated with KTLA 5 being at 507 North Euclid Avenue today is gang stalking. All right, and KTLA 5 is not ignorant. That's the reality. These are demons. Not coincidentally just coming to the city of Ontario and reporting on the demons well, they're not referring to themselves as demons either, but they're demons. They're under a fake sun reporting the news. Nobody's ignorant under the fake sun. Neither is KTLA 5. You know all about them with regard to the pattern of conduct. So now you have KTLA 5 present in that environment, and everything that you know doesn't change because it's KTLA 5. They're not ignorantly in that environment either. They're maintaining a whole fake sun in Los Angeles, reporting the news to you, talking about the sunrise and the sunset when the meteorologist gets there with her miniskirt on, and I'm showing you the fake sun that's remaining at this intersection where KTLA 5 is present. What sunrise and sunset are they talking about when they're in LA giving the weather for the day? And the fake sun is rising at the bus stop over me and setting at the OVITT family community, the same intersection, the same location. What sunrise and sunset are they talking about? What weather? Okay, where are they talking about this? And this is the bigger picture that nobody has ever thought about before. But that's the reality. They're not ignorantly. This is a system that I'm exposing and a system that I'm prosecuting. And KTLA 5 does nothing other than show the fact that they are part of that same system. In other words, you shouldn't be trusting what they're telling you on the news. It's not news. It's called propaganda. It's propaganda. Conditioning your mind, maintaining the illusion, and clearly targeting American citizens. It's currently 8:25 a.m. This is P.O.C. Abigail. Hi, Kel. Oh, can I get some disinfectant wipes, please? I'm sorry, what's your name? Jennifer, thank you. You're so helpful, and I never asked you this before. Yes, can I take a couple? Do you mind? Thank you. One more. Thank you. I'm sorry, what did you say your name was again? Jennifer. Have a good one. I keep tripping my phone. Ah. Okay. Morning, Kelly. Looks like we've got the demons of OPARC maintaining what is relevant positioning with the mentally incapacitated, the same population that the OPARC employees are, mentally ill as well, escorting the mentally ill through the venue, monitoring me and monitoring my vagina, doing that with what is Kelly as well as what is Jennifer. Morning, Starla. I have some disinfectant wipes. While the let's see. While the entity is maintaining, relevant positioning, stalking in the library. So any direction that I walk, you have the entity maintaining presence. You'll hear the administration door open now. It's a stalker. Good morning. They're stalking in the library. They're monitoring my vagina. The entity is maintaining amplified noise inside of the bathroom of the women's restroom. Inside of the women's restroom on the first floor. Doing so while everybody inside of that venue is engaged in vagina monitoring, just like they are, as the City of Ontario confirms that for you with the heavy stalking by the Ontario Police, the Ontario International Airport, and it's also confirmed when you have light which is inexplicable right behind you and you're sitting at the desk as though you don't know anything that's going on. That's that same behavior that's going to be used to diagnose severe mental illness and violent sex offenders that conspire the murder of the victims of sex crimes committed by the entity. I'm capturing the fake sun at the back end of the OVITT Family Community Library facing the University of Laverne College of Law. Impossible placement of the sun. That's going to be back at the entrance like I just captured at 10 o'clock walking in. That's the fake sun moving all around me. Those speaking to what is indeed stalking inside of a building, psychopathic, and stalking inside of bathrooms, psychopathic and perverted, predatory.
and stalking in the manner in which they are, with noise, with light, and as a group, as an entity, psychopathic, preceding what is murder. That's relevant to Jennifer and Kelly and Starla and Abigail, vagina monitors, keeping my genitalia under surveillance on behalf of the government, doing so, keeping me under surveillance inside of the library, a building where a bunch of people are all stalking together, and they all know and share knowledge of everything you're doing, including your heartbeat. They're monitoring spirits, they're demons. OVITT Family Community Library is engaged in vagina monitoring, for which I'm going to sue and prosecute the City of Ontario. They engaged in kidnapping as well. And they're still gang stalking. That's relevant to time in prison. Alrighty, you have Lindsay. Also, Lindsay is engaged in vagina monitoring, gang stalking, P.O.C. It's currently 10:16 a.m. Good morning, Austin.
How are you?
Hi, Austin. How are you? I'm fine. Nice to meet you.
Yes.
Are you with Anthesis?
Anthesis, yes.
Oh, very cool. It is currently 10:18 a.m. Anthesis is the gang stalker placing, and Anthesis is engaging in surveillance while they engage in ongoing systematic engagement in the pattern of conduct with the City of Ontario at the library. So they're placing what is a third-party client of Anthesis that's bringing their clients to the venue to share in what is gang stalking, sexual violence, harassment, terrorism, and the demons that are, again, bringing their clients of Anthesis. This is what OPARC does as well. They are doing so while they are aware of the fact that they're being documented. That's relevant to what is enhancement to charges, enhancement to damages, and enhancement to prosecuting them. These are predators that are utilizing their own clients to engage in the pattern of conduct. Anthesis clients, OPARC clients are not bringing themselves here of their own volition. They are equally, and I have been subject to the entity that are demon possessed. Their clients are not different. It's just that Anthesis and OPARC are bringing their clients here to engage in that. That's facilitation amongst the mentally incapacitated. This is the P.O.C. So I just want to document that, and this is at computer number 1. Anthesis even puts them on the computer that I systematically sit at. That's like the demon that claims that he hits girls sitting in the spot that I always sit at the Ontario Town Square under the fake sun, doing so while they're engaging in what is a passive-aggressive means of harassing you. And this is the demons that are... First of all, you're stalking me, and second of all, you're hostile because I'm documenting you stalking me while you're obsessed with my vagina. Those are the demons that are going to be committed and put in prison, all right, including those that are with corrupt companies, predators, violent sex offenders, and criminals who want to represent themselves on social media to you, the public, that are ignorant about the system, as being compassionate caregivers, looking out for those that are developmentally challenged. They're placing the developmentally challenged in relevant position, using them as a means of activity creation as demons, engaging in the pattern of conduct and criminally facilitating that. That is to their demise. That is harming them. That is also relevant to what is psychopathic, the exact opposite. Psychopaths engage in that which is the exact opposite of how they represent themselves, and they are in the medical field and they are unfit. Okay, that's relevant to what Anthesis and OPARC is engaging in under the fake sun, by the way. It's 10:20 a.m. This is P.O.C. Alexander Gregg, vagina monitoring. Morning, Erica. It's Erica Quartz, vagina monitoring. Kathy. This is an aged third party engaged in sexual violence of vagina monitoring with the government. It's 11:18 a.m. This is activity creation by the same exact demons, obsessively stalking planes, helicopters, fake sun, fake moon, engineer light, all of the P.O.C. in a bathroom. Amplified audible activity and engineer light, all of the P.O.C. in a bathroom. This is psychopathic, predatory, sexually violent, sexually motivated, mentally ill, deranged. And it's all centered on my vagina as well. This is P.O.C. The entity that is gang stalking is consumed with my anatomy, my genitalia, my privacy, which they are obsessed with violating. Literally, the government is between my legs. I'm going to prosecute because of that, because I didn't invite the government between my legs. Psychopathic pacing in and out of the bathroom. One demon already in position, and then another demon enters to remain in surveillance position inside of the stall. The entity sounding what sounds like the elevator, what sounds like impact through the walls, pacing in and out. All of this is in the engineer light. Fake sun is over the venue, and this is the entity that's engaging in that as gang stalking is underway in a bathroom. These are the demons that are going to be dealt with martial law, based on the level of lawlessness and perversion and criminality. That would be the psychopathic pacing. Psychopathic pacing. Yes, and that is absolutely state action. The state is indeed a sex offender. And that is with regard to the historic prosecution of the government engaging in what is unprecedented sexual violence and putting gang members in prison for it. Oh, were you looking for somebody? Were you talking to somebody in the stall? Were you looking for somebody that walked in here? Because I thought I heard you say somebody's name, but somebody came in here. I don't know if you're looking for someone.
Yeah, I thought that you were.
Oh, somebody else. I was going to say, because somebody did walk in here.
It's fine.
Mm-hmm. If you recall the documentation of the Ontario Police Department maintaining ongoing helicopter activity at the Vista del Sol apartments as I'm walking from the Ontario Shopping Plaza, where the City of Ontario is maintaining surveillance through psychopathic pacing using commercial planes in the engineer light, all that pattern of conduct is what is underway inside of the bathroom. The psychopathic pacing is underway by the entity itself, the same ones that are demon-possessed stalking with light. That supernatural pattern of conduct, those gargoyles are what are entering into the bathroom on behalf of that government that maintains those extreme and obvious and corrupt means of surveillance. And they do so in places like where I am subject to it right now, which is speaking to the entity that is engaging in what is absolutely kidnapping, like documented on June 16, 2022. And every iteration of that ongoing threat to commit kidnapping, harassment pursuant to the intent to commit kidnapping, and kidnapping is occurring with regard to what is criminal defamation, which is preceding what is murder committed by the entity that is engaged in vagina monitoring. All right, the mentally ill that are stalking with light are walking into bathrooms where they have no business, violating American citizens' privacy in the shoes of the state. And that's exactly what is relevant for prosecuting what is a society of sex offenders, an entity that is a sex offender, a government that is a sex offender, and that's going to be on the record. The state of California shall be prosecuted as a sex offender. This is relevant to what is martial law and the need for it. All right, it's currently 11:25 a.m. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, Anthesis is here. Anthesis is a sex offender, as is OPARC. But Anthesis is the particular terrorist that is, again, operating under the guise of maintaining medical care services or daycare services for the developmentally challenged, and they're actually engaged in what is targeting American citizens and also abusing the developmentally challenged by including them in federal group stalking and monitoring, making them sex offenders in doing so. This is not any exception. Understand that the developmentally challenged are also demon-possessed. They're engaging in the same stalking with light activities, stalking with audible noise, stalking with presence conduct, which is demonic. The demons that possess their person are what enable them to engage in that supernatural simultaneity of conduct regarding my physical movement, regarding what it is that I'm doing while they're not looking or they're demon possessed. But they are developmentally challenged, and they're being utilized by corrupt actors who are sex offenders. Anthesis keeping my vagina under surveillance and doing so through the developmentally challenged who are congregated inside of the venue under the fake sun, pacing, okay, a train of demons pacing in and out of the bathroom while a bunch of sex offenders are on the first floor. Not men, sex offenders, engage in that pattern of conduct. Okay, so that's the entity that's engaged in that, and they're doing so while they are together monitoring as an entity that is obsessed with my vagina. All right, and this is the reality of the demon-possessed that are sex offenders, and they are engaging in sexual violence as a way of life while maintaining a whole illusion regarding society, regarding law and order, and putting sex offenders that have a record and protecting the public from them. It's a population of them, and they are keeping you and your children's genitalia under surveillance. They're doing so with regard to not only technology, not only through a government system, but literally themselves while they are monitoring you and what's going on with regard to your privacy that you don't have around a demon. All right, and so they do that while unbeknownst to you, and they do that while they are also gratified in knowing what it is personally going on with you while you go in the bathroom, and a demon is aware of everything that you're doing when you're bending over, when you're reviewing yourself, as you look in the mirror, as you're touching whatever issues you have, whatever it is that you haven't told them, they know about it. This is the reality of demons. They're sex offenders. You're going to prosecute not what you know intuitively. You're going to prosecute based on the tangible evidence, which is with regard to what is the pattern of conduct that is underway in the bathroom, and its criminal presence in the bathroom. Its criminal presence as Starla and Kelly and Alexander and the rest of the demons that are working at the venue are present. They don't have any constitutionally protected right to engage in surveillance as you report to work at 9 o'clock in the morning and you're conspiring my murder. I'm going to prosecute you, and it's a straightforward one, literally your work schedule. The entity is going out of its way to engage in sexual violence while they are also keeping my evidence under surveillance. So you're engaging in what is monitoring my vagina with the intent to harass and sexually traumatize me because you're hostile about my documentation, this investigation, that you are unlawfully keeping under surveillance with the vagina monitors that are stalking me in planes and helicopters as a corrupt city of Ontario. Okay, they're engaging in sexual violence as an agent. All right, and they're doing so. Psychopaths that are stalking me with impossible light, those are the psychopaths that are pacing in and out of the bathroom. And you also need to know that this is a Jezebel spirit. This is a sexually perverted entity. So the demon-possessed females that live their life, for example, as heterosexual women, this is speaking to the illusion that the demon-possessed present, and you are only identifying homosexuality by those that are openly speaking that they're homosexual, or those that are, even if they're not, they're closeted homosexuals. You're only identifying that based on what is their lifestyle as they engage in homosexuality, and that's relevant to a spirit. It's also relevant to a mindset. The entities engaging in what is homosexual predatory conduct. These are women that are obsessed with my vagina. These are women that are obsessed with my privacy, wanting and have an intimate desire to be literally consume with that private area of mine and everything concerning it, my bodily fluids, and this is based on their demon possession. The fact that they are engaged in and gratified by predatory conduct of another woman is homosexual predatory conduct. It's sexually violent conduct. It's also relevant to what is not a heterosexual lifestyle, like that person that is demon possessed would like to present to the world and to the public, creating an illusion for you regarding what is homosexuality. Oh, well, homosexuality is when they dress like this and when they act like that, and when they state that they live like that, or when they're even homosexual and they're with other women and you identify it like that, and that is not the case. These are demon-possessed homosexual predators, meaning these are women who are obsessed with my vagina, that's homosexual, and you're also a predator. You're a predator while you are engaging in sexually gratified and sexually interested in that which you have no consent or legitimate interest in. And that's literally what is the focus when they're pacing in and out of the bathroom, monitoring my vagina with regard to a government that is engaging in surveillance in that private space and relies on homosexual predators like the females of the state of California are engaging with every other predator of the male gender. Okay, this is an entity that is demon-possessed. Satan does not have a gender. Satan does not have a race. Okay, Satan doesn't have an age or an income bracket. These are gay women who are, they're gay by virtue of what their purpose is, what their focus is. Their focus is perverted. Their focus is violent. It's violative of my rights. It is obsessive, and it's concerning my genitalia, and that's the reality of the demon-possessed. All right, this is underway at the OVITT, quote-unquote, Family Community Library. Bathroom monitoring. A building full of sex offenders. This is P.O.C. All right, it is currently 11:52 a.m. and I am on computer desktop number 2. I want to document what is, first of all, the pattern of conduct is already established in this by the state, okay? So the fact that the OVITT Family Community Library is interested very much in murder while they're gang stalking me is also established as a matter of evidence. The entity is engaged in murder with regard to money and my identity that has been stolen. So when I'm, again, on the internet, viewing any documentation, engaged in any means of documentation, looking at content that is even analogous or similar to what would expose the demons that are currently engaged in gang stalking and furtherance of murder, the entity engages in what is manipulating the computer device that I'm on. This is relevant to federal stalking under Title 18. All right, you don't have malfunctions, by the way. You're under surveillance. You're not having malfunctions. It's pursuant to what is merely just harassing you because you don't know that you're being targeted. You're not even doing anything particularly damning or incriminating to a government like what I'm doing while I'm documenting and maintaining the investigation. You're just under surveillance, and the entity that is keeping you under surveillance will do things like interfere with your internet so that you can't get your presentation done on time for your meeting before your superiors and your colleagues, and you have no idea it's relevant to what is targeting you while you are under surveillance in your home where you're preparing that presentation that you're going to present to your colleagues at work who are engaged in what is targeting you in that manner so that you're unprepared, okay? And you're thinking that it's Spectrum, and even though you paid your bill and they're talking about an outage and an inexplicable conflict that they have to resolve, and it's stopping you, it's impeding upon your ability to use your device where you paid your bill, and the entity is speaking to that you don't know is existing, is speaking to reasons, superficial reasons as to why you cannot utilize your internet, utilize your devices, what the actual issue is. The entity is maintaining ongoing diligent surveillance. You are not experiencing malfunctions.
And so I just want to point that out, and I've documented that before. But the entity is engaged in what is monitoring on device number, computer desktop number 2, and it's also relevant. The entity, now that I'm sitting at number 1, and I show you the heavyweight Latino male, very psychotic, okay, engages in sparking light conduct. This is somebody that's engaging in microaggressive conduct, passive-aggressive behavior. This is somebody that doesn't use words. This is a demon-possessed person, and the demon in him is very angry, especially as I expose him gang stalking me. He comes in and sits in my peripheral and engages in ongoing light activities, sparking light conduct, while he is also documented every time I engage in what is publishing evidence that is incriminating to this venue, and that is infuriating to the demons. This demon begins sparking light. As I document him, then you have the rest of the demons inside of the venue that all began engaging in that same conduct, which is not serving. It is literally establishing a pattern of conduct. These are creatures. They're not functioning, reasoning human beings. Okay, they're all crazy and they're all caught, and the entity's engaged in what is a pattern of conduct even while they do that. So while I document one demon that's engaging in what is the pattern of stalking with light, the demon possessed have this ongoing obsession that is coexisting with what is they're stalking you, and it's because they're monitoring. This is where you're all seeing them stalking under a fake sun. Okay, the entity's engaging in this conduct inside of a building by tactics such as sparking of light. And I said sparking instead of flashing on purpose. It's like a sparking of light. These are demons, and it's supernatural. It's as supernatural as the engineer light moving across the wall when you're driving your car. It's as supernatural as the engineer light, because it's not their headlights, when they're engaging in what is a molestation, because it's engineered light and not headlights, while they are creating multiple shadows that's projected on the wall behind me at the bus stop. When I'm showing you my shadow that's appearing in the shade, projected in front of me, I'm standing in the shade. That's not sunlight. It's supernatural. These are demons, and it's a demonic environment. These demons are inside sparking light while they're stalking inside of a building. That is the OVITT Family Community Library, which is no community for a family whatsoever. These are demons that are an entity that are engaged in gang stalking on behalf of the government in furtherance of murder. And while I'm looking at any content online that even has anything remotely related to or analogous to what this entity, including the OVITT Family Community Library, that Sharon stealing money from me, a large amount of money, stealing my identity and conspiring my murder by gang stalking me in order to cover it up, which they are still in real time engaging in. The entity that is engaged in surveillance interferes with my ability to hear anything on the desktop computers. That is, they begin quote unquote malfunctioning. This is the second time the entity is engaged in this, and it's relevant to what it is that I am looking at, what I'm doing on my devices and on the device that I'm using. And a bigger picture is that the entity that's engaged in surveillance on communication devices, which you are no longer ignorant of, that is the entity that's maintaining a specific environment. That's the entity that's positioning the impossible light activity flashing on the walls based on where I'm sitting inside of the library. It's not a malfunction. So while I'm sitting at computer number 1, the entity is not maintaining the engineer light at the entrance door where it's in my eyesight. The entity is doing so where Sarah LeBlanc is gang stalking, walking out of the office on my right side, pacing across the floor with multiple shadows, gang stalking me, and doing so, and is engaging in what is the criminal elements of monitoring as a demon that's engaging in psychopathic behavior of monitoring my vagina as a homosexual predator. And she's doing so as a state actor at the OVITT Family Community Library that's engaged in more than one federal offense regarding criminal summoning and also kidnapping. The entity's going to prison for this. And Sarah LeBlanc is gang stalking, walking into the administration door where all the demons are pacing. Those are demon-possessed people that just so happen to work at the venue, where I will prosecute them as state actors as opposed to third parties, acting in furtherance of my murder, and monitoring using the devices in violation of Title 18 in concert with the developmentally challenged who are inside of this venue gang stalking. And I'm going to not comment on that part. The entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct and is doing so while they are seeking to and failing at interfering. In other words, that's just creating what is a temporary impediment relevant to federal stalking, incriminating conduct at the environment where you are monitoring as a matter of evidence, monitoring everything that I'm looking at, and everybody already knows that you tried to murder me as you have stolen my money. This is the entity that's engaging. I just want to be clear. It's relevant to what I am viewing on this device, relevant to what Tracy Banks, those that are related to me, and those who this entity has paid, like, for example, the Ontario Police Department, compensated co-conspirators of murder, stalking me as a department in helicopters and in police vehicles, wearing badges and guns, poised to commit murder and then cover it up, control the narrative as a corrupt police department. And facilitating that while a bunch of demons, including the developmentally challenged, are pacing around in the engineer light that the demon-possessed are maintaining around me. While they are, again, doing so while I look at content that may or may not incriminate them regarding details about the entity that tried to get away with stealing my money and my identity, my empire, okay, my wealth, via the system of gang stalking. Okay, this is P.O.C. It's 12 p.m. Just want to make sure that that's clear. Everything that the entity is doing, they're doing it on surveillance cameras. I will literally prosecute them by their work schedules. I will prosecute them by the surveillance cameras. I will prosecute them with their door badges, which are providing a timestamp when they're pacing in and out, even opening and closing it while they're not even walking out of it, because they're psychopaths who are just using it as a means of noise. The entity's engaging. I will use everything. Everything that they're doing is serving my prosecution. They are surrounded, and literally the feds are watching. They're also surrounded, but they are surrounded in every regard. They're also surrounded in the spiritual realm. They have lost, and I'm documenting this for your benefit, because you need to know what the demon-possessed who are murderers and violent genitalia monitors. You need to know about sex offenders that are the demon-possessed in the United States. This is P.O.C. It's 12:01 p.m.
This is the mentally ill, heavily overweight third party documented gang stalking with the Ontario International Airport under the fake sun at the Ontario Town Square, entering into the venue with sunglasses on, where the entity is engaging in what is stalking with light, which is what this third party is doing. This is the picture of severe mental instability. He's not gang stalking by himself. He's doing so with an entity, every employee, every demon coming in and out of that entrance that's filled with engineer light. She's walking in engineer light underneath the covering, and this demon is engaged in psychopathic means of targeting, doing so while engaged in surveillance of the evidence. They do so while they're fearful of everything I publish on the internet. They do so while keeping my vagina under surveillance. This is the demon that engaged, as I documented, at the town square, stating that he, quote unquote, I hit girls, and he's talking to Carlos in doing so at the Ontario Town Square, and the OVITT Family Community Library engages in what is communicating a threat as an entity, while such violent actors that are engaging in the pattern of conduct and the psychopathic behavior of stalking with light, which he is sparking, sitting in my peripheral in the specific environment with multiple shadows where the entity maintains engineer light inside of this venue, as I already documented, are sharing in that pattern of conduct with this third party. This is the entity that's engaging in the P.O.C. The entity is doing so while they're pacing outside of the entrance doors. The fake sun is still over this venue right here. This is a demon. Okay, so I'm going to hone in on this because the demons that engage in kidnapping, like Alex and Daisy, that engaged in kidnapping with the Ontario police, they're going to prison. All right, they're going to federal prison, and demons like this are also going to prison. It's 3:29 p.m. These are all demons that are targeting together, while a particular overweight demon that doesn't like himself, neither do any of them, but he is the one that is documented, and that's why he's repeatedly engaging in that tactic regarding psychological torture and harassment as an entity, sparking with light. They're all monitoring. That's not sunlight. The sun's over the entrance at 10 a.m. this morning. They're walking in the evidence to prosecute them. This is psychopathic pacing. All right, and the stalking with light conduct is occurring as an entity. It's 3:31 in the afternoon, so the demon is sitting in my peripheral in the path, stalking in the path with methods of sparking light. That's what this is as well, on a grander scale, stalking with light. And this is the fake sun that's over the same entrance that I walked in at 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay, this is the P.O.C. These are the demons that are stalking as an entity. This is where the Ontario police are engaged in stalking by helicopter, where the Ontario International Airport is engaged in stalking with commercial planes. That demon is driving an engineer light that's flying in the air, just like at 7 in the morning. 9HDW248 is a demon, stalking with the demon that's sparking light, sitting in my peripheral inside, and stalking with light the same. Doing so while the City of Ontario is in the path, while a fake sun at the same entrance, where you're looking at engineer light on the outside, engineer light on the inside. Securitas is gang stalking. This is the P.O.C. You're looking at where the fake sun is at this morning. I took pictures of it, reminding you at 9:04 a.m. This is an illusion.
You're capturing the illusion because you're going to put overweight minions like the Latino male that's using audible activity to communicate a threat when he is only going to be busting a grape as he sits on it. He's not going to make a move. That's the entity that is stalking with light, that's psychopathic, monitoring my vagina, doing so with the government that's full of psychos that are engaging in the conspiracy to murder while the entity is surrounding with engineer light. The engineer light is while they're monitoring. The fake sun's in the same position it was this morning while I was sitting at that same clock at the Ontario Town Square. I haven't gone anywhere. Neither has the fake sun. And those are psychopaths sitting in there monitoring and looking to the left and the right like they're not obsessing over everything that I'm saying about them. And they are. And while you engage in that, it's the evidence that's also going to serve to diagnose them. This is impossible light activity. This is my shadow appearing here. They're all monitoring. Monitoring, stalking, P.O.C. This is severe mental instability by population. The employees are gang stalking. They're gang stalking with minor children. They're going to lose custody of them. They're also mentally ill. That's why they're losing custody of them. They're all engaging in surveillance on behalf of the city of Ontario. This is P.O.C. This is a population of sex offenders that engage in psychopathic conduct and look to the left and the right. P.O.C. All right, it's you're going to see on the Google Drive the images of the entity that is engaging in what is, first of all, they're all stalking. And while they're all demons who are stalking, they're engaging in what is psychopathic conduct, monitoring with the sparking of light, very sick certifiable conduct, just going around sparking, flashing light while they're stalking in the path. And then they're all engaging in that while they act like they're all, minding their business. I'm at work. I'm looking for a book. I'm here bringing my kids so that they can pick out a DVD. And I'm here studying. And all they're doing is stalking. So you see the fake sun. You see the same entrance, the entity that has that light source. They're engaging in what is battery as an entity while psychopaths are stalking at the computers. That's the supernatural P.O.C. You're not jerking this desk. It's not made out of paper. You are not Hercules. You're not even intelligent. They're not engaging in any sort of conduct other than stalking in the path. And these are demons that are utilizing demonic activity to commit a battery. Okay, the entity is going to be prosecuted for the illusions whereby they're engaged in violating you, stalking you, monitoring you, and furtherance of murder. Okay, this is the entity that's doing so under the fake sun, and I will be very much prosecuting for battery, very real, while they use witchcraft to engage in it. The entity is doing so while they're hostile, hitting my chair, engaging what is hitting me with the desk, while they are pacing back and forth in engineer light under the fake sun, doing so while they're monitoring the evidence that I'm publishing on the internet, while they're all psychopaths sparking with light. Okay, these are the demon-possessed that conspire your murder and that engage in criminal defamation when they are absurdly psychotic, consuming feces. Because that's what somebody is doing when they're engaged in this failed witchcraft against somebody that's documenting it. It's 4:13 p.m. This is OVITT Family Community Library that's going to be prosecuted. Everything that the entity is engaging in via this venue, they're going to be prosecuted in addition to the feces consumers that are in here pacing like cockroaches on camera. P.O.C. All right, as you can hear, it's 5:35 p.m. where OVITT Family Community Library is monitoring me. And I do want to document monitoring me in concert with Tracy Banks. Tracy Banks, again, unsolicited, uninvited. I do not communicate, haven't called her. She does not have my phone number officially. Of course, the entity knows everything concerning my devices, so that's the reality. But she does not have my phone number or anything. And so this is just documenting the fact that she is entering into the OVITT Family Community Library, and it's also relevant to what it is that I am, again, sensing my food that I have been purchasing from Stater Brothers being tampered with. This is another indicator I documented yesterday in the images, you'll see it rather, where the Ontario International Airport, the Ontario Police Department, the people of the state are gang stalking. They are engaging in what is tampering with food, seeking to poison you, seeking to harass you and target you, including by, number one, what I indicated in the images, after I'm capturing a whole campaign of stalking by planes. Okay, well, excuse me, before flying over my head during the 9 p.m. hour, I walk out and then I document that campaign and I publish it because I'm going to prosecute and that airport's being shut down. But it's relevant to tampering with my food at that venue where I'm being targeted. The entity is removing products that I have been buying for the past couple months. So I'm going to be specific because I don't have any, there's no secrets here, and I'm going to prosecute. So organic cucumbers, and in the organic area, and it's the absence of that product. And I've documented this before. The last example I gave you at Chevron purchasing the coconut water, nobody buys those drinks that I was nobody, and they remained 100% full. The moment that I began purchasing them, they are immediately gone. Out of stock is what that's referred to. And it's the same with a particular brand of potato chips. That I buy out of stock after I buy it. This is the entity that these are indicators of targeting in addition to the specific environment where you're being gang stalked, where they're monitoring you. This is also relevant to tampering with food. I documented this at more than one venue, and this is still ongoing. This is exactly what I am sensing is the case, doing what is a lower dose of whatever is being put in my food. It is at a lower dosage, perhaps something like a laxative, something to create an urgency. And it's an abnormal urgency, and even putting a lower dosage is something that I can sense. And it's not a coincidence while I'm being monitored, as I am literally at the desk inside of the library. I'm doing working on my prosecution, this ongoing investigation. I'm publishing documentation, and this is when Tracy Banks also is walking in. There are no coincidences here, okay? And these are monitoring spirits. I'm going to document regardless of the nature. There's no such thing as a friendly conversation with a third party. It's all audible activity to your demise. So you're getting beyond the superficial veil. You are witnessing somebody that is investigating and maintaining an ongoing investigation I had to maintain on my own to protect myself and enforce my rights. And my professionalism is not to be confused with what is an equally unlawful threat to my life. Okay, and this is relevant to the entity that is relying on, and I'm also speaking to the fact that you're not going to defame somebody based on their tone of voice, their facial expression, how you think they're supposed to behave when they are being targeted and the government remains a criminal. All of those superficial means of defaming someone, distracting away from the topic, throwing in red herrings, throwing in non sequiturs. All right, this is the entity that's engaging in all of that superficial nonsense. Okay, while I do maintain a level of professionalism in order to show everyone what a government is doing and show you what a people are doing and show you what Satan is doing. But I do want to be clear, it doesn't matter what is with regard to the substance of the case where the government is monitoring. You are not going to engage in any sort of legally irrelevant assessment of someone's mental health that's being targeted. It's legally irrelevant. The entity is engaging in criminal defamation. And I also want to speak to the fact, because you are dealing with fragile human beings who are coming from different backgrounds, who are not designed, we are not made to be targeted by the government. Also, it's inherently terrorizing to be subject to demonic activity by a population of demons. Okay, you're talking about what is under no circumstances going to result in and what is absolutely irrelevant under the law. When the government's engaged in what is under all circumstances unlawful, the government remains the criminal. It is a distraction to try to prescribe, oh, you're supposed to speak like this. And if you don't, then there's a mental illness issue there. And if you don't respond in this way, and you have to prove that the government is gang stalking you by behaving in this manner, and that's speaking to the fact that you're not mentally ill, even though the gang stalking is underway. That's absurd. Even as I speak it. So not only am I proving the case, and my professionalism is speaking to what is necessary to maintain an investigation, it has to be one that is in a position poised to prosecute the government and expose what the rest of this country is subject to and what this country is doing to American citizens that are not armed with the P.O.C. However, under no circumstances shall it ever be the case that an American citizen is going to be insulted, in other words, exacerbating the harms inflicted by even addressing something such as the mental health of an American citizen that's being gang stalked. That's absolutely irrelevant. You're being targeted. Okay, so I just want to speak to that because that's exactly what the entity, you have to act like this and you have to behave like that. And if you don't speak in this manner, then that's literally what they require when they're relying on the superficial. You're ignorant about the fake sun that they're pacing around you under, and they want to have the audacity. That's why I laugh at Satan. They have the audacity to bring up the subject of mental health. And since you did, let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about yours. While you're stalking with light and stalking under an engineered environment like a psychopath as a population of sickos. And that's proven not through hearsay, okay? Not through innuendo, but with hard, tangible evidence, facts that Satan can't deal with. Since you want to talk about mental health, the entity that's gang stalking, their mental health is proven to be a problem, a threat to American citizens. But
But nonetheless, I will speak to the fact that the entity is monitoring and tampering with my food, doing so at a lower dosage. But nonetheless, I am very sensitive to and paying attention to what it is that I'm buying. And I'm heavily documented Stater Brothers. Stater Brothers is the one that's still poisoning me. And it is the same Skippy peanut butter. I did not buy the same product. I bought individual packets. And so this is relevant. And this is an entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct while Tracy Banks is arriving and offering that which I'm not soliciting from her. I don't need from her. But I am going to document that because this is, again, nothing that I started. The entity is targeting me. And so it is my duty to make sure I document every aspect of it. But even if I didn't, and you think that you have some sort of surprise in court, you don't. I will you've already lost the case, but I'm just speaking to the fact I'm going to document every step of the way because there are no secrets here. All right. The entity targeted me and my life is under surveillance. And so I am sharing for the benefit of others what is prophetic, what you need to know that you're subject to, what poses a threat to you. All right. It is 5:42 p.m. This is the P.O.C. That's Ontario Police, and this is Tracy Banks, 9HUZ740. That's Ontario Police. This is Tracy Banks, license 9HUZ740. Monitoring my vagina. They're pacing, psychotic pacing inside of the library as well, outside of the bathroom, through the staff restroom and through the male restroom. That's a sex offender, molesting. They're being disbanded. They're going to prison. License 1706919, and so is she. This is not a friendly encounter. This is a threat. And I will be documenting it. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that committed kidnapping together May 29th. Yeah, they're going to prison. P.O.C. It's, by the way, upon my exit, just like the airport, 5:59 p.m. This is pacing. This is a sex offense, sexual assault and battery, USPS, not a surprise. Getting in their criminal pattern of conduct, getting in their retaliatory conduct. That's the entity engaging in surveillance. That's Ontario Police. These are the demons, the gang violence that they're engaging in while they're kidnapping under the municipal code. This is P.O.C. This is the P.O.C. And I want to be clear, this is the practice of witchcraft. Any sort of, this is a psychopath. This is a psychopath. This is the entity that's engaging in conduct. This is failed witchcraft that she's engaging in with the Ontario Police. They're engaging in this pattern of conduct in the engineer light. And this is what she's doing every night when they're stalking me. Tracy Banks is a part of this pattern of conduct. This is threatening, and that's why she's going to prison. So is her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields. They stole my ID, engaged in what is manufacturing a marriage, engaged in what is targeting me and defaming my character, while this entity engaged in criminal defamation, everything that's on the internet, while they're stalking, they're being disbanded, and they're going to prison. P.O.C. The City of Ontario is stalking at Mission and Mountain, flying over Tracy's vehicle while I am sitting in at the intersection on the passenger side. And this is where the City of Ontario is gang stalking this ambush that I'm subject to as I walk out of the facilitating venue, OVITT Family Community Library. As I walk out, the entity is stalking by the Ontario Police, pacing in the vehicles and in the helicopter. That's already published right now at 6:22 p.m. 7 PWV 726, 7 EBE 618, 8 HCP 491, 8 YBA 507, 8 RRB 999, KPOUNDG, EC82K01. That's a paper plane or a white Mercedes. And this Sizzler at 2228 on Mountain Avenue in Ontario is where the Ontario International Airport is stalking. Doing so, hovering, and also the Ontario Police Department in the parking lot while I'm in her vehicle. Sizzler is engaged in the pattern of conduct. The entity is ambushing me by the Ontario Police Department upon my exit of the venue of the OVITT Family Community Library, and Tracy Banks is engaging in that psychopathic conduct as though nothing is happening. You're both going to diagnose and prosecute for that. This is a threat to my life while I am in the presence of one that is conspiring against me and is gang stalking me with the City of Ontario. Again, still engaging in that same POC. I just want to document this. This is the entity that's engaging in that, and it is 6:23 p.m.
Place, one bedroom. It's $1,500, $1,800, $2,000 really.
Yep.
So telling me best thing he needs he needs about $60,000 and fine. And I mean, if he's serious, I'm saying you got to have rent, he's got to eat, he's got to have transportation. He's got to afford to not be able to have to work if he. And can he get work? I mean, you
Right.
need to have that and work. Really, you need to do that and work.
Right. In order to get your dream going, you still got to work. Yeah.
Yeah, because you got to support your dream. How old is he?
I think he's in his 20s, maybe mid-30s. He don't sound young, but you know.
Yeah, well, he's quite old to get started in California. And I'm just saying, I'm just telling you
Right.
the bare facts about it. I mean, he's old. He just came up with this idea just overnight. How did he get your number?
That's what I asked. I said, how did you get my number? He says, oh, somebody referred you to me. I'm thinking to myself, okay. Well, I told him, I said, look, I'm not a promoter. I only promote one club.
Let me out at Stater Brothers.
Okay. I was like, I only promote one club. So I told him, I was like, I'll just reach out to somebody that I know that knows the industry. So I called you.
It's not much, I need to really hear if he's any good at all. Did he send you any material or send you a link to?
Nope. I told him to hold tight, and I would get you his number if you're interested, and then go from there.
Okay.
Yep.
You can tell me. You got my email address. You can email me his package.
Okay. Well, text me your Gmail or email, and then I'll send it to him and tell him what to do.
Okay.
Thank you so much for calling me back. Happy birthday.
Thank you. You're welcome. How's the children doing, Erica?
Everybody's fine.
Okay. I'll tell them I said hi.
I sure will.
Okay.
This is a demon. His name is Gregory Jackson. He's got a history, a sexual history, a romantic history with Tracy Banks, and he's monitoring me right now. He's a psychopath.
No news is good news.
Ain't that what you tell Vivica? I said hi.
Yeah, okay, I will.
This is a demon that calls the moment that I turn on light in the vehicle. That's stalking with activity conduct on the phones, which is Title 18. Monitoring me on the roads and the highways with Tracy. If you'll look at my documentation in 2020, 2021, when I'm in her vehicle and she's monitoring me with the state. She's on the phone with Dawn. She's on the phone with, Dan Ackery, monitoring with Eric Spencer. Monitoring, that's what he's doing right now. It's P.O.C, it's audible activity. It's the use of a device. As you see on video, as you can hear in the podcast, the entity is very much gang stalking me with Tracy Banks. I'm ambushed by the Ontario Police upon my exit, and these are demons that are engaging in what is not going to work. Their witchcraft is ineffective toward me. It is void, null and void, and this is a demon that has no manners. So she's engaging in what is gang stalking me, and is accustomed to engaging in utilizing bullying conduct, monitoring with license 9POK 866. At Stater Brothers, where the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking. That's what's documented on last night. That is January 8th, 2026. And gang stalking me right now, which is what Greg Jackson is doing with the communication device on speakerphone inside of Tracy Banks' car, where Tracy Banks has been gang stalking, and she was gang stalking today. You're getting context regarding these are demons. Tracy is a witch. She's been engaged in defaming my character, and the criminal conduct that Tracy Banks has engaged in is relevant to what is actually demonic activity. She's a witch, and she's been engaging in what is seeking to essentially steal my identity. Now, with regard to witchcraft, that's referred to as someone that's trying to mock being a prophet. And she's actually a witch. She's engaged in witchcraft, and she's engaged in monitoring me in the spirit and then acting as though she's the one that's spiritually gifted. She's the one that has the information, even stealing my intellectual property and acting like it's hers. Literally, she is a witch, and she's monitoring me while she's on the phone. This is spiritual, what she's doing, and it's also criminal. I'm prosecuting demons, in other words. License 8NRF417 is monitoring me with the demon that's on her car on communication device, on their devices together. The entity is engaged in what is stalking me, literally going to the 2228 Mountain Avenue Sizzler. The Ontario International Airport is flying over that venue. That's well beyond Mountain Avenue. I'm capturing images of the Ontario Police stalking by helicopter. As I exit OVITT Family Community Library, the entity is having a field day. These demons are buck wild, flying in circles by helicopter. And the demons who are psychopaths, these are, listen, Tracy Banks, it's relevant, the ongoing mania that is exhibited as I walk out and I capture that video. Tracy is a witch, okay? This is a demon.
And this is somebody who has a false sense of pride and ego in spreading evil, okay? These are demons that are engaging in what is demonic activity with this false, she's not a prophet. She's seeking to mock me and defaming my character is relevant to what is the practice of witchcraft. Legally, it's defamation. With regard to the pattern of conduct serving what is seeking to murder me, a criminal act, it's criminal defamation, as will be established with regard to the prosecution of the government. That's been proven as a terrorist. But it's defamation. You are speaking spells negatively against someone. That's relevant to what is witchcraft, okay? That's why you have to be careful with what you speak. Your tongue, demons, Satan knows that, and that's why they speak evil against you and your name and your identity. They're engaging in witchcraft. And it doesn't work, okay? There is no amount, in other words, of witchcraft that's going to revert or change or convert or make less probative the P.O.C, okay? And that's what Satan can't deal with, which is facts. All right, so context is that Gregory Jackson is monitoring me, and this is a pathetic demon that's gang stalking me from Los Angeles, I believe, has been engaged in what is targeting me with Tracy Banks since I was a child, and is engaging in what is calling on the phone. This is somebody that's seeking attention right now. Understand that everybody's monitoring me, and this is somebody that is no big-time producer. He's engaged in targeting and maintaining even the conversation as some sort of makeshift producer, talking about, oh, he'll call. They're all engaged in what is monitoring, trying to garner attention actually right now. This is how pathetic they are. He's actually pathetic. You're engaged in criminal conduct, you're monitoring me, and you're literally calling on the phone as a demon, and he's also seeking to what is push some sort of reputation, which he doesn't have. His reputation is that of a demon. His reputation is that of having a history with Tracy Banks, who's a Jezebel. She's a witch. And that's why she's coming to the library, gang stalking me, under the guise of, hey, how you doing, how you been? Even though I didn't call you and I didn't invite you over, and you are engaging in what is threatening my life. But I'm maintaining an investigation, so I deal with Satan in order to expose what Satan is engaging in. Okay, Satan doesn't have any friends. Satan has no loyalty. That's why this demon, who is a relative of mine, is gang stalking me and further into murder, and she actually wants to be me. She's a witch, and she's not a prophet. And because she is engaged in such psychopathic and delusional conduct, now she's going to federal prison for what she failed to repent from engaging in. Okay, so this is a full spectrum reality check regarding the demon-possessed and criminal activity, as it has now, they've quote-unquote manifested. What they manifested is prison time. What they manifested is martial law. The entities engaging in this pattern of conduct, and I want to be clear, Greg Jackson has been engaged in what is targeting me in California, doing so with Tracy Banks since I was a child, by the way, and he's no friend of mine. That's why he's on the phone on the device engaging in federal stalking with the city of Ontario, where they're monitoring me. So I'm at Stater Brothers. You understand the P.O.C. This demon is the means of audible activity, the use of the device in that environment, and everybody that's stalking, pacing all around me in the environment are monitoring to the sound of his voice while he wants to speak of that which he is not. He's a nobody, no name, wannabe 1980-something producer that is, again, engaged in what is gang stalking. That's how unsuccessful he is. And monitoring me as a guise of seeking some sort of attention, because I'm the one that's being monitored. Everybody's paying attention to me in my investigation, and he's literally monitoring, talking about some career that he's not going to help. He's a liability. He's an embarrassment. He's a vagina monitor. That's the type of respect that I don't have for Greg Jackson, who was gang stalking me with Tracy Banks. He has a history with her as a Jezebel. He's the same entity. All right, this is P.O.C. The entities engaged in that pattern of conduct and surrounding me with engineer light, this demon, like I captured on video yesterday, license 9SON929, stalking with light activity. These are psychopaths. The entities engaged in what is stalking as I go from the OVITT Family Community Library to the Sizzler off of Mountain and, that is Mountain and, what is the cross street? 2228. Mountain Avenue, and well, we cross Mountain to Mission is where the Ontario International Airport flies over the vehicle while we're at the red light. And then the address for the Sizzler is 2228. I'm going to publish that. It'll be in the description for the podcast for today. But it's the exact same pattern of conduct. Tracy Banks comes around to engage in the P.O.C. and it's failed witchcraft. This is somebody who is going to succumb to every demonic entity that she sent out, which has no authority to touch me. And she is, in other words, has solicited my death. And the entity is going to find out that they have solicited their own demise. The entity that has solicited my remaining in some sort of impoverished state, they have solicited their own detriment with regard to the loss of all means of finances, the loss of the ability to take care of themselves, their well-being, their future, their ability to support those that are around them, their homelessness state, their inability to get a job, their ability to keep a job, their ability to find a job, all of the hardships that these demons inflicted upon me, it's going to occur for them. And that's while they're going to be subject to what is going to feel like gang stalking for them, except federal law under martial law is something that they're going to be subject to as a matter of judgment. Okay, as opposed to this entity that's engaging in lawlessness, targeting American citizens that have committed no crime. Martial law is a direct result of the lawlessness of the corrupt government that cannot be trusted and is sharing in criminal activity with the civilian population. Martial law is absolutely necessary. P.O.C. It is currently 8:18 p.m. I want to be clear. Jason Isaac Fields is engaging in the pattern of conduct with Tracy Banks. He doesn't have to be physically present. He's shared in that ongoing criminal conspiracy. He is engaging in what is seeking my demise while the entity is gang stalking me. They are still holding hands with regard to that same criminal pattern of conduct, spiritually attacking me as well, and doing so while, again, being delusional. So there will be all the witchcraft that they sent out. And this is the reality because you're going to witness, and this is not a celebration, this is just a fact. Scripture says, whether you believe it or not, it is true that's not the sun that sits over me from sunrise until sunset. And when the Lord God has said in his word, which is absolutely true and inerrant, states that you shall touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. When you do that, there are actual consequences, and they are severe. And you are going to witness the people that have sought to harm me for a prolonged period of time. You're going to watch what they succumb to, and it will not be a mystery as to why. I do not practice witchcraft, but I am covered by Christ Jesus, and it is also a spiritual power with regard to the reality of Christ's word and his Holy Spirit that covers me. And so those that come against me, you're coming against the Lord God himself. And that's what Tracy Banks is experiencing. That's what these demons that are going to federal prison are experiencing. You're literally in that video. The Ontario police, if you look at the video that I captured, this is psychopathic behavior. It's a mania. It's in the air. Okay? And it's unfortunate because that's exactly the material that's going to call for martial law. They are pacing around the C Street turn circle. And the demons are going psychotic, stalking with the helicopter activity. While I'm inside, like I stated in that video, while I'm in the bathroom, the demons inside of that building, the OVITT Family Community Library, these are demons that are very imprudent. That's the same conduct that I'm going to use in court to put Daisy in prison, proving that Daisy is engaged in gang stalking, an ongoing pattern of conduct that she is persisting in as of 2026, relevant to my kidnapping that I suffered by this entity that is targeting to date. And that's exactly what they were doing in 2022 with that same department that's engaged in the conspiracy to murder me with Tracy Banks, who arrives at the venue while I'm subject to that ambush, a threat to my life and safety and well-being, which I am having to face because of the corrupt government and enforcing my right of maintaining an investigation to prove that Jason Fields and Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer and Tommy Allen Banks and Leroy Lomaxis Spencer have conspired against me, lied on my character, stolen all of my money and property that belongs to me while trying to keep it a secret. And gang stalking me in the city of Ontario is acting in furtherance of that conspiracy to murder me, to take my life. While you are both stalking me, and then you're also maintaining a record of having arrested me. Every arrest is pursuant to you stalking me and making up information to conduct that arrest, which is a kidnapping. The demons at the OVITT Family Community Library are going to prison. But while they're engaging in what is failed, outdated, expired, null and void, witchcraft that does not work on me, it only works on demons like them. They're not thinking about that. Jason Fields is going to prison. His sex partner showed up at the library today and is engaging in what is arriving after Stater Brothers is indeed putting stuff in my food. So I'm buying Skippy peanut butter. I'm going to prosecute them. This is very unfortunate. I'm going to prosecute this little rinky-dink Southern California company. I'm going to prosecute them. I'm going to crush them in court. So the entity is continuously threatening my life and poisoning me, and this is the guise for a serial killer like Tracy Banks to come and arrive. Oh, do you need help? I don't need you to do anything. I need you to stop targeting me. But you cannot have a straightforward conversation with a psychopath. That's delusional. That's what you see on video, like it's not happening. You see her getting out of the car. Okay, let's go. Let's go. This is a witch. You know exactly what's happening. You see the same pattern of conduct I'm documenting day in and day out. Tracy Banks injected herself and did it conspicuously in front of all you, which is what she's been doing for years, which is what I stated at the outset of my documentation of this investigation. While she's been lying and maintaining an illusion as a witch and bewitched all of you. And may God have mercy on you, but everyone that fed into the lie, threatening my life and safety, I will never have anything to do with you. If you have turned to Christ, glory be to God, I will never have anything to do with you. The test was for you not to be deceived, for you to not engage in what is planning and plotting my death, for you to not fall for what is somebody giving you fellatio, and then it's that easy for you to turn on me, believe lies in the face of what is even my conversing with you and you being in my presence, and then you're going to believe what Satan is telling. Yeah, I don't have any obligation to deal with anybody that had anything to do with this, and I will not. And if you violate my rights, like Tracy Banks says, but I'm documenting. This is a demon who's a relative of mine, who's particularly indebted, has engaged in what is recruiting, soliciting those to co-conspire on my death. And so my prosecution of Tracy Banks is up close and personal. Everybody else that she recruited, in other words, if you violate my rights and come around me, you're getting more time in prison. You're representing a threat by the government, just like the demons that are stalking me in helicopters and wearing guns on their waists, exercising authority under the law that they don't have. You're going to prison for longer. And you are listening to the one that is going to get that in a court against you. You don't have any right to come around me at all. There is absolutely nothing to talk about. You made your decisions years ago, by the way, and there's no going back on that. There's nothing that is any sort of information that you're going to give me that I need. I haven't needed you the entire time while you were having gay sex, group sex, satanic rituals, and chanting my name. You're absolutely mentally ill, and I hope Christ helps you with that, but we will never have any dealings with one another, ever. And there is no amount of repenting before Christ that's going to force me to have to deal with you. It has nothing to do with me. And everything that you decided to do to me behind my back has nothing to do with me, and I will have nothing to do with you. I wish you the best. I really do, because hell is hot and it's permanent. Okay? This is the pattern of conduct, and this is relevant to the entity that's engaged in this very foolish conduct, and the feds are watching. The feds are watching. And these demons are making these decisions while you're going to prison. These are demons that are suicidal. They have no intention of being in court and having some sort of appearance like they're not guilty. That's how on edge they are. That's a threat to the law. I'm advocating. Okay, my case has already been said. I'm advocating for someone else. This is a threat to an American citizen. A suicidal gang that's stalking you, that's a threat to an American citizen. And because of that, you are going to recover. You're going to recover for that. Because of their mental instability, you're recovering for that. You have a right for the government to not engage in what the entity has openly and unambiguously engaged in, on camera, before the world, embarrassing this country. For who knows how much longer it will even be referred to as the United States of America. Because what the entity has done to me is what the entity's been doing for a long time, is what the entity is known for now. And what this entity has done to others throughout the world, it's international, the implications here. And the ways in which it harms this country is what we are all going to witness together. Okay, I don't want to speak I'm not declaring anything, but this is the reality regarding what you're going to reap what you sow. You're going to reap what you sow. So this country is going to reap what it has sown. It is currently 8:27 p.m. Greg Jackson is monitoring me, and doing so, it's absolutely pathetic. While he is seeking attention as some bootleg producer, which he is not. He's absolutely irrelevant. That's why he's gang stalking me and wanting to talk about some sort of producer, some sort of assistance he's going to lend to some gang stalker that wants to be a rapper. Okay? This is an entity that's engaged in the pattern of conduct, and they're going to be tied up in court cases. There's not going to be any sort of music career. I guarantee it. And he's entirely pathetic for using that as his audible activity and monitoring me with Tracy Banks. These are how passive-aggressive, micro-aggressive personality disorders manifest themselves. It's all just noise and engineer light while they're stalking me in the path. That's why you heard me say out loud, you can drop me off at Stater Brothers, because you all know what's going on at Stater Brothers. It's the P.O.C. Alrighty, it is currently 8:28 p.m. Stalking with the Ontario International Airport at Vesta and C Street, 9KRJ364, stalking me with the airport. That's stalking me at 507 West Vesta as I arrive at 9:16 p.m. They were stalking at the Sizzler restaurant, stalking me with Tracy Banks, who's going to federal prison for gang stalking me, and a relative gang stalking you while the government is targeting you. That relative is going to federal prison. This is law in the United States. The entity that is gang stalking you with your fake friends and family, those are the hitmen, and they're going to federal prison. And that is axiomatic. Tracy Banks is going to prison for the blatant terrorism that she engaged in on video again while the government is stalking, and you are a blood relative. You're going straight to prison. There's no controversy there. Okay, and this is the entity that's doing so while with the population with whom Tracy Banks has conspired against me. She's going to prison. It's currently 9:17 p.m.
This is the entity that is stalking, not landing behind the Stater Brothers off of Bonita, like they're lowering behind as though they are. This is the entity that's stalking throughout as I'm walking back toward that's C Street in Euclid up here. And this is a serial stalker. You see my shadow in front of me? This is engineer light. This is P.O.C. This is the pattern of conduct, and that's a threat to engage in criminal summoning, stalking with the police with furtherance of murder. License 9PZF062. That's audible activity while she's conspiring murder with the people of the state, and that's why the Ontario police are being disbanded, and they're engaging in the pattern of conduct. And she's engaging in stalking at 218 C Street and engaging in that pattern of conduct in the engineer light. I want you to see this here. This is the pattern of conduct. She's a demon. You can see my shadow underneath her, and she's engaging in what is the pattern of conduct. The Ontario police are being disbanded while they're stalking me in helicopters, and they gang stalk with the people of the state, and that's exactly what they utter, and that's supposed to disarm you. That's supposed to strike fear while they're conspiring your murder. This is mental asylum material. This is certifiable conduct, and this is also federal prison. This is serial stalking at the facilitating venue where they live, 218 C Street. This is federal prison. My documentation is showing she's serially stalking with the government that's providing evidence against her right now while her audible activity is going to be used against her. That's P.O.C. That's the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct. I want to be clear. Tracy Banks engages in that same pattern. While she's gang stalking me, she's gang stalking with the Ontario police, and she's documented very heavily. Speaking to, I'm going to call the police, while I'm documenting her threatening my life, gang stalking me. This is impossible light that's appearing on the brick wall. These are the mentally ill that are going to be dealt with martial law, that are going to federal prison, that are going to be committed. You are not protected gang stalking with the government, targeting American citizens, keeping their genitalia under surveillance, engaging what is gang stalking them with police who are already stalking right now. While you're engaging what is a threat to commit criminal summoning, this is the pattern of conduct. This is P.O.C. The Ontario International Airport, those geniuses provide evidence against the people of the state who are going to be cleaned up. They're going to prison. Okay? The city of Ontario is going to be... It is currently, by the way, 9:23 p.m. And pay attention to how this demon is automatically speaking when I'm not addressing her. They are indeed engaged in targeting. They are indeed engaged in surveillance. They are indeed stalking and paying very close attention to you. And my shadow's all the way over here. The audible activity in and of itself is incriminating her, and you're going to prison while you make threats, stalking as the state. You're going to prison for that. That's P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, 9:23 p.m. This is why Tracy Banks is going to federal prison. P.O.C. Here's my shadow over here as well. These are the mentally ill. These are the mentally ill that are going to get a wake-up call in the U.S. They're getting a wake-up call. They're going to prison. Mike LORENZ is going to prison. You're engaged in what is threatening me with the gang stalking police departments, the gang stalking people of the state. You're going to prison for this. This is P.O.C.
All right, stalking with the people of the state at 218 C Street, threatening and stalking with the Ontario International Airport. That's psychological torture. That's a threat to commit criminal summoning for kidnapping. That's done so with the intent to obstruct justice while you're committing a sex offense. I'm being molested with that which is engineer light while you're monitoring in furtherance of murder. License 9PKV972 shares that criminal offense. Federal government is, that federal offense, and the government is gang stalking me to that audible activity which is threatening your liberty. The ordinary target individual is disarmed by that, threatened by that, while the police are making assertions against them that are untrue, kidnapping them, stealing their property, harassing them, stalking them by helicopters, stalking them, and exhibiting demon possession, that is mental illness. And then the people of the state refer to that agency with regard to you enforcing your rights and documenting when you're being terrified in that environment as well. That's the entity that's going to be disbanded. License 8RZD270. They're gang stalking while that audible activity is a threat. And this is, again, what the entity is engaged in. This is what Sergeant Hall's committing while she's gang stalking. She's going to prison, bearing a gun, wearing a badge, representing a department where you're engaging in criminal surveillance and furtherance of my murder. With the co-defendant, by the way, Tracy Banks herself is gang stalking me while the entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct. This is the entity that's engaging in this P.O.C. while they are engaging in criminal activity at the same time. These are delusional people that are engaging and are accustomed, apparently this is what their P.O.C. shows, that they're accustomed to engaging in what is bullying people, getting away with criminal activity, even framing innocent American citizens for criminal acts that they've committed or that have not been committed at all. They just artificially engineer it. This is the entity that's going to be subject to prosecution for terrorism. It is gang violence. All right, and the gang stalking police departments are responsible for the criminal activity of the people of the state. Alrighty, it is currently 9:26 p.m. and that is because they share in that pattern of conduct. So they're going to be prosecuted. The airport that's stalking, the fire department that's stalking, the people of the state that's stalking, the Ontario Police Department are going to be disbanded for it. 6YDL031. License 8TKB053. License 8VJA389. License 9NQL216. Ontario Police, vehicle 1084 Charlie, crossing path, stalking me while the Ontario International Airport is stalking. And these demons, Glorias Cochinas, in the parking lot of the Vos Church, where I've documented the Ontario Police engaging in criminal summoning under the fake sun that's rising at C Street. They're stalking in the path, crossing path with me, while they are, again, the source of the audible activity trying to threaten me while you are conspiring my murder with that gang member of the Ontario Police Department. That's the entity that's going to prison. Okay, CEASELESS, R. Lilly, you have Sergeant Hall, 80491, they're going to prison. Those gang members are going to federal prison. Just as is Jay Sandoval and Craig Hazelwood and Owens, they're going to federal prison. C. Torres, and you have the entity that's gang stalking, kidnapping on May 29, 2025. What are they doing right now? What were they doing as I walk outside of the OVITT Family Community Library? What are they doing every night while I'm at the bus stop? What are they doing while I'm walking to and from the Stater Brothers? They are doing that which is documented pursuant to what is federal prison. While the people of the state that are gang stalking are referring to those gang members, you're going to prison. That's the gang stalking system. And that's why gang members like the Ontario Police are at fault for the criminal activity, and they're going to be suffering federal prison for that fault. That's no small thing. The people of the state commit murder. And then the gang members of that police department that are engaged in surveillance, co-conspiring that murder with that entity because of their criminal surveillance system that they're engaging in, which shall reasonably result in the loss of life, loss of liberty. You're going to be prosecuted. And it's not only reasonably, that's literally what you conspired as the criminal objective. In my case, you're going to prison. This is not just gang stalking by Sergeant Hall and the Ontario Police. This is stalking and furtherance of murder. The conspiracy is established. Solicitation, ongoing theft, and seeking to obstruct justice, what the Ontario Police are doing, what they've been paid to do is already established. They're going to prison. So you have what is the confidence, the audible activity of a demon that's stalking over here in the hood, living at a shack, stalking where she lives, and referring to gang members to get away with it? No, you're going to prison for that. License 6GWN732. The same agency that she's referring to is the agency that's being disbanded. License 7UVC941, the same agency that's stalking me on this street right now. 9GJW563. The Agency of Sex Offenders, they're all vagina monitors. 7WRV552, they're all mentally ill, they're demons. They're not even a police department. This is the demon that's referring to that demonic agency that's engaged in criminal activity and that is going to be literally taken over by martial law if they're not already disbanded. But martial law is happening. And the Ontario Police are no agency with any authority. They're going to be dealt with as the criminals that they are. License plate. 9UZE474, 8NDX550, 8LQL281, 8GLK957, 8ERE351, 6NYE919, license 8SGB561, 7RGA319, 5RDJ087, The reason why you don't argue is, first of all, you don't argue with a criminal. You don't argue with a mentally unstable criminal. You are not going to argue with the government. You're going to document. The government is trying to murder you. This is this Caucasian woman that's stalking obviously has no friends, no one that loves her or likes her. She sits up every time I walk down this street, she's gang stalking me and comes out of her home. She has no business of her own. She comes out of her home to keep me under surveillance. This is a highly unstable person who is engaging in gang stalking and is way too enthusiastic about committing what is the federal offense of obstruction of justice while she's engaging in terrorism. This is an unstable creature, mentally unstable. You don't argue with people like that. I document it because it's relevant for federal prison. And it's also relevant for federal prison of that same agency. The entity that's going to federal prison, this is exactly why that policy exists. Every gang stalking so-called police officer, because that's an oxymoron. You're not actually a police officer. For purposes of everyone understanding who I'm referring to, what I'm talking about, gang stalking police officers are going to federal prison and they're going to be subject to mental examinations. 9 PHB 063. And this unstable creature stalking me outside in her vehicle, engaging in surveillance, is the exact reason why that policy exists. That represents an entity, a population of demons who are confident with regard to bullying you by summoning the gang members themselves who are stalking in helicopter and in vehicles every day and night, like my evidence has already proven. You're going to prison. You're going to federal prison, and the people of the state, gang members like the people of the state, enemies of this country. They're enemies of the Constitution, they're enemies of American citizens and their right to not be subject to being targeted. They are enemies to that. They are hostile to it. They aggressively resist it and defy it. That doesn't mean that it's not happening to them, but you need to recognize their attitude toward these are enemies of the United States. They act like foreigners. They don't act like American citizens. This is an entity that's engaging in that conduct as a population against American citizens. The way in which the remedy, the absolute necessary remedy, is you put that false sense of security and safety you have in calling on gang members. The gang members are going to prison, and those that engage in that, they're going to prison. And that's how you remove that false sense of security. You don't have any security. It's incriminating. You're going to prison. You're going to watch what you say while you're gang stalking. And you should not even be gang stalking. But moreover, you're gang stalking and you said what? You're going to prison. You're going to federal prison. License plate 8RDR925. You are analyzing the stalker. And the stalker is the state. The government is threatening to kidnap you while the people of the state make such utterances. The government shall not engage in any such conduct and avoid the consequences. It's prison. Directly, it's prison vicariously. You are totally outside of the bounds of the confines of the law. And this is an ongoing corrupt system. And these demons, these terrorists have way too much confidence regarding what has been prolonged injustice, ongoing lawlessness, psychopathic, the mentally ill just having free reign. And this is why they are this deranged, because it's gone on for so long. License plate 26897N3. Their crazy selves are going to prison. You're going to lock up these Looney Tunes. You're going to lock them up. They're going to prison where they belong. They are a threat to the public. 5 PSF 771. All of them are stalking, all of them threatening, all of them stalking with the Ontario police who crossed path in that vehicle that I referred to. They're all engaging in that with impunity. I just want to be clear. No one is feeling bad for the immigrants that are getting deported either. They are targeting with impunity. No one's feeling bad for terrorists that are losing custody of children, that are targeting with impunity. They have no regard for other people. They are a threat to children. Nobody feels bad for you. No one is feeling bad for you going to federal prison and being labeled as a violent sex offender and an enemy of the United States. No one feels bad. These are demon-possessed people, not normal human beings, engaging in terrorism while they practice witchcraft and then try to call you crazy for it. This is more than a reckoning. It is retribution. Retribution is coming in the form of justice. License 8YCE327, 65185J3, 9BLN273. Molesting with impossible light, all of them. 76556 Apple 2. 9 Apple Mary Kelly 377, 7 THK 326. These are stalkers in the parking lot. They all have multiple shadows and they're stalking, again, engaging in that. Their conversation is literally audible activity and they're doing so on behalf of the police. All you have to do is talk about, oh, I'm going to call the police on you. That's the entity that's then addressing you, making a threat with regard to what is audible activity. All they're doing is obsessively stalking you. That's it. They're psychopaths whose whole act has been exposed. Because all they're doing is acting. Everybody under the fake sun is acting. So now everybody's watching them act, and you're seeing how freaking crazy they are. All you're doing is acting. Who do you think you're deceiving? And the government is telling on you. The government can't control its stalking impulses, and neither can they. And you're all poor actors. They're all on a stage that's poorly lit, okay? They have no acting skills. Their lines are horrible. And everybody can tell that Erica Spencer is the focus, and Erica Spencer's vagina is the focus. Everybody knows that. So you're looking at very poor actors, and they're all demon-possessed. These are demons. I'm going to read the license plates of these two demons that are stalking in the parking lot. 8 NCC 411. This is a female and a male stalking in two vehicles together, engaging in surveillance, stalking in the path with their vehicles, light activity. 8V43230, and this is what's threatening to call the police while you're stalking. And I'm going to go ahead and take their pictures as well. License 8 Edward Mary 026, and in the red SUV captured at what is 9:36 p.m. Stalking with impossible light. These are demons. These are mentally ill people. Impossible light shooting all about through the parking lot while they're engaging in what is stalking as an entity. The inexplicable light just occurring out of nowhere. I documented that before. 7WIF 520. License 9LIS 060. P.O.C. And they're stalking with the Ontario police who are also in the parking lot. P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, let me get the Ontario police who are demons stalking in the parking lot. These are the gang members, the people of the state I just documented on podcast. These are the gang members with whom the people of the state are targeting. This is stalking with light. This is certifiable conduct. These are demons that are engaging in terrorism. And these are the gang members that the people of the state are referring to who are stalking me by helicopter, stalking me on an ongoing basis, stalking me with Tracy Banks as I exit the OVITT Family Community Library as an entity, Mike Lorenz's pattern of conduct regarding being a terrorist leader while demons are aligned in the specific environment. This is where the Ontario International Airport is stalking. No terminals over here. There's no airport in alignment with the C Street and Laurel. This is the entity that's engaging in that, and they're arriving pursuant to surveilling me while I'm exposing the fact that they've conspired my murder as the City of Ontario gang stalking. Every license plate that I recited is sharing in this threat. The people of the state are indeed going to be prosecuted. This is P.O.C. It's currently, by the way, 9:37 p.m. where they're stalking in the parking lot. It's not different. These are the cockroaches that are demon-possessed, that are sitting in police vehicles. They're losing these positions, and they will not be in law enforcement, and this is why. This is terrorism. They're stalking an engineered light. This is P.O.C. Let me show you. Here's one shadow here. Actually, it's stuttered shadow, and here's another here. They're engaged in what is stalking with light. This is the behavior of the demon-possessed, the mentally ill. Alrighty, and they're engaging in this while I'm documenting, no coincidence, and this is what they're doing under the fake sun. The demon-possessed are the ones that are stalking with light, and this is what they're doing in the parking lot, coming in and sitting in the engineered environment while I'm documenting, not a coincidence. They're engaging in surveillance, not law enforcement, and that's why the Ontario police are also being disbanded. They committed a series of kidnappings while conspiring my murder, and every act of defamation is pursuant to that which is in furtherance of my murder, and they're going to prison, every kidnapper, including the latest kidnapper, Craig Hazelwood. You don't have authority under the municipal code, and there is no municipal code violation when your stalking is what is resulting in what is homelessness of an American citizen, and you also don't have authority under the municipal code when you're engaged in federal stalking under Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2, which is what the gang members of the Ontario Police Department are doing. And big picture, breaking news, the entities engaged in what is gang stalking, which is demonic activity. This is P.O.C. These are demons that are obsessed with my vagina, okay? Having no legitimate interest under the law. This is not law enforcement, it's criminal surveillance. This is P.O.C. And the people of the state that I am documenting, the Ontario International Airport that I am documenting, are engaged in this pattern of conduct on behalf of these gang members, and that's why they're being disbanded, because they're not engaged in police work in the first place. This is an ongoing pattern of conduct. Here's my shadow back here. Here it is back here. They're sex offenders. Sex offenders. That's a male. 1644205, 1062, vagina monitor, and he's going to prison. They just want to come and watch the show. You're watching yourself being locked up, because that's what's happening. 1591672, 1031. These are gang members who are going to prison. They just wanted to come commit sexual assault and battery. They wanted to come and fan around engineer light. They want to come and communicate a threat, very much of a potent threat. You're analyzing the stalker, federal judge. You're analyzing the stalker while we're legislating around this system that's going to be dealt with under martial law. That was a federal offense right now, threatening. They are threatening in the positions that they hold, and they're losing those positions, that's why. But that's a threat. Threats are both expressed, threats are implied. Okay? They're doing so while they've also engaged in a pattern of kidnapping. That's a threat in and of itself. While I'm documenting, that's a threat. While you have a pattern of stalking me, which they are doing literally today, on the same day, by helicopter, that's a threat. And they're engaged in that, but that was mental illness. If mental illness had a picture, that was it. They're stalking with light. They're demons. This is P.O.C. All right? You saw my shadows back there? Those are demons. Those are demons. While you saw my shadow here, and I showed you my shadow here, I had a row of shadows back here. Those are demons. The Ontario Police are being removed from the positions that they have stolen from those that are not psychopaths, from those that are not going into law enforcement in order to disguise and get away with and facilitate criminal activity. They are the worst gang members ever. P.O.C. Alrighty, capturing video of the mentally ill Ontario Police Department and the two demons that are engaging in that POC. I just want to be clear, the demon that is engaging in what is communicating a threat, talking about she's going to call, that's the agency, those are the gang members that you're referring to, you're going to prison. That's the system of gang stalking in the first place. Okay, and the entity is vocalizing that threat with regard to what is seeking to obstruct justice because you're enforcing your right to not be conspired against with regard to trying to murder you. And because of that, you are engaging in what is another offense with regard to threatening to call the gang members who are already stalking and keeping you under surveillance. That's why they arrived in a dark parking lot where you know exactly where I'm at while you're stalking in that specific environment. And it's not coincidentally that you're doing so while I just so happen to be documenting license plates, documenting the entity that is going to federal prison, and documenting the entity that also makes up the gang members of that corrupt police department that are engaged in, as you can see and as you can hear me narrate, they're not engaged in law enforcement. And big picture, I just want to let you know, wherever you are in the United States, we are under surveillance. And the police departments are in a position to maintain a bully system of surveillance, not practice law enforcement, not execute justice, not to protect and serve. That's the veil that these demons, these witches and warlocks are cloaking themselves in. But all you have to do is pierce behind a very thin veil and you will clearly see that it is not law enforcement. And that's why you're calling what is an imperfect system, you're calling it, that's based on the illusion that you're relying on. It's not an imperfect system. It's operating the exact way that it was designed to operate. This is pursuant to surveillance. It's not pursuant to the illusion that you've been given that they're protecting and serving. And that's supposed to appear a certain way. They're supposed to behave a certain way. We've got a problem dealing with what are the quote-unquote mentally ill. The mentally ill that they are not serving well, very often those are targeted individuals. Those who are under surveillance. Those who are senselessly murdered, by the way. Because the demon-possessed are engaging in the system and they take lives for no reason. And they take lives for reasons such as what I'm showing, documenting 9BKR 818. Because I'm enforcing my rights, because I'm exposing them, they kill for that. Okay? The entities engage in this pattern of conduct, and this is speaking to what is the prosecution of a system. This is a system that's being prosecuted. And I'm also prosecuting that system as it's being executed, and it's a violation of constitutional and human rights. And while that resistance is underway through my investigation, this ongoing prosecution of the state, understand that the demon-possessed have conspired my murder in order to try to maintain this system and conceal it and keep it from being exposed. That's what I've come up against. The entity tried to murder me instead of being faced with being exposed for this, which is going to change everything in this country. That's relevant. The entities that's engaging in that conduct, those are gang members. What you can see in this video, clearly disturbing. Those are gang members. They're stopping in the parking lot. They're sitting in the middle of the parking lot, two vehicles adjacent to each other. And for what reason? It's directly relevant what I'm doing. Everybody knows what I'm doing, and so do the demons that are keeping me under surveillance, the Ontario Police. And everybody knows that, and everybody knows that they know that, and that I know. Everyone knows what everybody knows, because they're engaging in surveillance, and I'm engaging in documentation, and you're engaged in watching it. So with that, what are they doing? What is the purpose behind that? while you're sitting in the parking lot, and everyone knows the significance with regard to demons who are monitoring with the lights on. It's not because it's dark, because during the day they're doing so, and it's still impossible light activity because it's the fake sun. They're doing the same thing during the day while the fake sun's over me, and they're stalking in the path. They're doing the same thing where the fake sun is covered up and it's a subdued fake sun, speaking to targeting, speaking to monitoring. They're doing the same thing while the people of the state are swarming all around with light activity, engaging in surveillance in the environment. And engineer light is always present at various hues. I've shown that. I've already trained on all of that. Don't be deceived. You're analyzing the environment. You pay attention. The engineer light is always present. That's how I have a shadow in the shade. This is P.O.C. They're engaging in what is communicating a threat while they know exactly where I'm at and what I'm doing. And I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing. And they are going to prison. And as much as they want to commit murder, they are forced to do what they're doing, which is criminal activity in front of the whole world, because they failed on their contract with Satan. And there are ramifications that I'm not concerned about, because they've gone into contracts with people. This is relevant to criminal activity that's underway with the U.S. in other countries. And they're engaging in what is gang stalking me. And the price is prison. You gang stalk me as any part of a police department, I documented you, you're going to prison. It's not just Ontario Police. I'm documenting multiple departments. I want to be clear. The demons of Los Angeles Police Department, the demons of the Fontana Police Department. Ontario is not the only one that's going to get what is a slice of actual justice and see what that looks like. Based on facts and evidence, they're going to prison. Where terrorists belong. That's where terrorists belong. Terrorists belong in federal prison. Enemies of the United States that intend to target American citizens, violate their constitutional rights. They belong in prison. And that's where they're going. And that's behind what the entity is doing, stalking in a parking lot at night when I'm walking through, and you're mindful of what I'm just capturing. The entity is stalking as the airport. The entity is following me through the neighborhood. These demons are stalking with impossible light, making threats about calling these gang members who are already stalking. That's why they showed up in the parking lot, sitting there in the dark, aiming light on me, being a sex offender and communicating a threat. That threat is not missed. That threat's not missed. Those are two cowards, two vagina monitors of the male gender, and that's federal prison. I just want to be clear. They don't have to utter a word in order to get that case of federal prison. They don't have to utter a word, because your life is on the line. They're carrying guns. They're exercising fictitious authority. They're engaging in what is surveillance and intimidating and psychologically torturing you and bullying you and engaging in what is this gang violence. They're doing so while they are violating the rights of an American citizen whose life is under threat right then at that moment. And it is insufficient to stay, well, in court, if you live, if you survive, okay, that you'll be able to get your justice and speak about it then and expose it. No, you're going to prison under those facts. Those facts are going to prison. That threat to the life of an American citizen is met with federal prison. Just like when you commit premeditated murder, just like when you commit a homicide and there is evidence of premeditation, you go to prison for first-degree murder. That's the charge. You engage in federal group stalking and monitoring as in the role of being what is a part of law enforcement. The charge is domestic terrorism, and you're going to prison for that. That's the consequence for that. You're going to prison based on the threat, the unprecedented threat that American citizens have a right to not be subject to. And that is relevant to what is not going to be facilitated and enabled. Gang violence. People literally going into law enforcement to get away with, to engage in criminal activity. And they think that they're elite because they go into law enforcement with quote unquote clean records. And they maintain clean records because they're a part of that agency. While they're committing robbery, they're drug dealers, they're sex offenders, they're stalkers, they're liars, they bear false witness. And then they're given the ongoing legitimacy of with regard to the truthfulness, the veracity of their word, and they're lying demons. They go into those positions to literally take on that form and get away with it and enable others to get away with it. All right. It is organized crime. It's not law enforcement. It's organized crime. Okay, that's behind the entity that is monitoring, and this is where the entity is. Where you see the gang members of the 2 Ontario police vehicles. I read there's license plates. I caught that on video. You'll see the engineer light. This is where the entity is stalking as an airport. This is where the people of the state are engaging in what is stalking, and then referring to those gang members. That's literally how the operation of the system of gang stalking is designed to operate. The people of the state gang stalk you. Any interruption, any hiccup with that, the bullies just engage in what is summoning. And that's an illusion, because they are doing so on behalf of the police department that's already stalking you vicariously through them. They know exactly where you are, what you're stating, what happened. And all the communication of I'm going to call the police is nothing other than a threat. I'm going to get the bullies here with the guns on you right now. Why do you think the Chucky doll is engaging in what is a battery at the Ontario Veterinary Hospital? And then you call the police when you're the one that committed battery. Who does that? Who commits criminal acts and then they call the police on the one that you violated under the law? That is gang stalking. That's why they're engaging in that. That's gang stalking. Instead of committing a crime against someone else and then fleeing the scene, getting out of here, or at least just not calling the police. Why would you engage in that and then you call the police? You're the one that committed a crime. It's gang stalking. Gang stalking is federal group stalking and monitoring. They're engaged in Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2, federal stalking with communication devices. They are monitoring as well. That's relevant to the federal stalking statute. The surveillance is underway, literally present through and proven through the environment, where every move that you make, everything that you're doing is under surveillance, in addition to what is that which is relevant to communication devices and on the internet. Massive, comprehensive surveillance. And it's by demons. Demons that know what's going on with your toes inside of your shoes, with your hands in your pockets, knowing what you're doing. If you're tapping your fingers or if you're crossing your fingers while they're in the pocket, you can't see them. Demons know what you're doing. And they're psychopaths that are necessarily maintaining an illusion as though they do not. So a demon that's monitoring your nose and is wearing a police uniform is going to ask you, what's your name? Let me get your ID, because they're maintaining the illusion that they're not monitoring demons, monitoring spirits that are keeping you under surveillance, not only spiritually, but also with regard to technology and your communication devices, which is unconstitutional. So you're prosecuting in the physical for the ways in which they're violating the law with tangible evidence and facts, okay? And the supernatural is also proven through the environment. That's where the fake sun documentation comes in. That's how I can prosecute literally Miami PD in Florida with regard to what the demons are doing in Ontario. There's only one sun. And it's staying over me all day long. So why and what circumstances are they arresting Tyreek Hill in Miami at 10 o'clock in the morning? East Coast time, 3 hours ahead. The fake sun rises over me and sets at the same intersection where KTLA 5 is gang stalking at East Street in Euclid in the morning. It's setting right there. Miami-Dade would never be under a sun arresting Tyreek Hill. It would never happen in the natural environment. I can prosecute you from any corner in this country because I know what you're doing. With regard to investigating, with regard to what is exposing corruption, that's nationwide. This is P.O.C. Gang members that want to engage in threatening like the Ontario Police Department do, guess what the reward is? They're going to prison and they know it. They're going to prison. And they're putting each other in prison. While they keep stalking me, there's a whole laundry list of demons that you can look through my evidence that engage in what is kidnapping me, because that's a kidnapping while you're stalking like their partners are doing on an ongoing basis. So you're going back all the way back to Jonathan Burnett, up to Craig, Hazelwood, and Owens. They're all going to prison. All of them. Because they were all engaged in the same gang stalking system. And you engage in kidnapping while you're stalking in violation of the law that exists and laws that shall come into existence. And you're going to prison. Domestic terrorists are committing kidnappings under the guise of engaging in what is the execution of duties of officers engaged in law enforcement. And you are not. You are lying demons and you're going to prison like every other terrorist of this country. Every other enemy of this country. You're going to prison. You're going to federal prison. While you have an appetite for threatening, you're threatening the wrong person, and the reward is time behind bars. I kid you not. And everybody that refers to them as though you're threatening while these gang members are out here, you're going to prison. That's your reward. And this old biddy that obviously has nothing to do, she can sit in a cell all day long. She can sit in a cell all day long where she can sit up and be in everybody else's business because she has nothing else to do than gang stalk, and then you have the audacity to think you're going to threaten me? This is an unstable creature, and that's relevant for prison, okay? Because they absolutely do engage in criminal summoning, and it's also legally relevant regarding the fact that the Ontario police are arriving in the path while I'm documenting after that threat is uttered into the universe. It's audible activity you're monitoring. That's P.O.C. You're not going to threaten and intimidate an American citizen who's going to enforce their rights and who has a right to not be kept under surveillance. We are not yet in society in the United States where we're without a constitution. As of right now, it still exists and you're in violation of it. And I'm going to prosecute you as the law states as it stands right now. And as it stands right now, you're going to prison. This is P.O.C. It's currently... All right, I'm going to document demons stalking in this parking lot. They're doing so with the Ontario Police, stalking with light. The entity is maintaining ongoing psychopathic pacing by helicopter, 8ZWG955, 8VDN365, 5GMK565, 53483S3, 9GWK120, 8PBX527, 9PGZ870, 8LIH168, 9ENS745, 9EYD056, 6CEV078, maintaining ongoing surveillance with light activity. Doing so while the entity is stalking, this is literally aiding the police while you're conspiring murder together. Doing so in the parking lot where they're stalking with impossible light, just appearing out of nowhere in the dark. Doing so while they're uttering a threat to engage in criminal summoning with those gang members that are stalking me as I'm documenting. Doing so while the entity has a pattern of conduct of kidnapping me and making malicious assertions with these people, these demons who are stalking. In furtherance of murder, license RNSPRDE. License 9GTN377, 6MZY774, 5JHJ180, 9FXF310, 18671Y3, 17851Z1. This is a prosecution with regard to those that hate the United States, and they're going to be prosecuted with regard to the animosity that they've sought to conceal as enemies of this country, and they're going to be identified as such, and they're going to be treated as such, and that's also relevant to what is necessary martial law. Also, with regard to the prosecution of domestic terrorists and removing them from the positions that they hold. You don't even like this country, you despise it. And so we're not going to treat them as though they are American citizens. Gang stalking is the most un-American thing that you can do. Terrorism is absolutely un-American. And you have American citizens, those who are homegrown terrorists that actually despise this country. They despise it. Whether they consciously realize it or not, they despise this country while they violate the law and violate American citizens in the ways in which the demon-possessed are. And they are going to be treated as the population of terrorists that they are. This is relevant to that while it's being prosecuted and documented. These are demons that are hostile to the Constitution and hostile to this country while I'm documenting them and enforcing the rights of any American citizen. That's what I represent while I'm enforcing mine. What's all the hostility about? Because they hate this country. License 17851Z1, 9WVA267. Because you want to be a psychopath and get away with it. You're a psychopath. You want to go around stalking people and be uninterrupted in doing that. 9WCX216. The mental illness doesn't even make any sense. The level of deranged conduct that the entity commits while they're stalking somebody. The demon-possessed are a threat to national security. They're a threat to the public. 8KYM155. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:58 p.m.